Okay. Hello, everybody. Hope you're having a lovely day or night, whatever time it is. Other than the day, we're back to Samuel, Saul, and Jonathan, and they made another bad choice.
Well, that's not smart.
No, it wasn't smart. How many men did God use to defeat 40,000 plus Philistines in our last story?
Yummy. Two.
Two. That's right. Just two. Saul and the other 598 soldiers didn't wait long to join Jonathan in the fight. They started chasing off the Philistines. Not only that, but some Israelites had decided to join the Philistines because they thought Saul was going to lose. But when they saw God was helping Israel win, they decided to go back to helping Saul fight. Plus, do you remember all the people that hid behind trees and up on mountains and in caves?
They're back.
They did. They all came crawling out of their holes and hiding places and joined in the fight. It was epic. Saul said, "Cursed be any man that eateth any food until evening." That meant no one was allowed to eat all day until long after sunset. Until after sunset. I don't know about you, but that doesn't seem very fair. Jamie's eating right now, aren't you? But they weren't allowed to eat at all. Not all day, even though they were running and fighting. They obeyed the king because God said they had to obey. They were all very hungry. But speaking of obedience, look, what have we got? Speaking of the people obeying the king, we've got our song. You ready to sing about our song?
Yeah.
You ready? You spell it O-B-E-D-I-E-N-C-E. Obedience is the very best way to show that you believe. You spell it O-B-E-D-I-E-N-C-E. Obedience is the very best way to show that you believe. That's right, they were obeying, weren't they? But they were very hungry. They were obeying the king. They didn't eat, but they were very hungry. So there they were, running after the Philistines, beating them back and panting from hunger.
Eat their numbers.
What did they see? And they came to a forest that was dripping with honey from the trees. Can you see the honey dripping down our pages? Oh, doesn't it look nice? Yeah. Lovely honey.
Well,
they wanted a taste. Oh, they were very hungry. But the king had forbidden anyone from eating. But Jonathan, he'd already been out in the battle. He didn't hear about his dad's new rule. So Jonathan took his staff. Now you'll have to excuse our chopsticks. They're a bit lime green. They're not exactly brown like a staff. But Jonathan took his staff, he dipped it in the honey, and he put it in his mouth. You gonna eat it? Your turn, Blake. Now the other end. He dipped it in the honey, swirled it around, and put the honey right in his mouth. And it tasted good. Jonathan felt so much better because he'd been so hungry. And working so hard. We shouldn't double dip. We shouldn't double dip. It tasted so good. All right, let's leave it there. And Jonathan felt a lot better after having a taste of honey. "Jonathan," the men cried, "the king has forbidden us to eat anything today." Jonathan looked at the people fainting away from hunger. "That was a terrible idea," Jonathan said. "See how I'm feeling a lot better after eating? If my father had allowed the people to eat food today, the food they found at the camps of the Philistines, we could have beaten the Philistines even better than we have." We actually still need that. Could we get it back, please?
Yeah.
So, what do you think the people did next? You'd think, we're going to keep it right here because we're not done with it yet. You'd think they'd eat the honey like Jonathan did. Or maybe they'd find some bread or some cheese in the Philistine camp and eat it. That's probably what Jonathan thought they'd do. But They didn't. The people started killing the animals and eating them raw. That means they didn't even cook the meat first. Ugh. Not only was that gross, it was against the king's law, and it was also breaking one of God's laws too. Look, God had forbidden Israel from eating the blood. Can you see the blood?
Yeah.
That's yucky. When King Saul heard of it, he was so upset. He made the people stop right away. You say, stop. Stop, people. That's yucky, gross, and bad.
That people.
That's right. Good job.
That people.
Now, when Saul finished stopping the people, he said, all right, let's keep fighting the Philistines. We should fight them all night long until sunrise. But the priest said, we ought to ask God first if that's a good idea. So when they asked God, God didn't answer. Didn't say a thing. So Saul said, everyone come here. We must find out if someone has sinned. For I swear by God, if anyone has sinned, they will be killed, even if it's my own son Jonathan. Uh-oh. Do you remember who'd done the wrong thing? Who'd done a bad thing? Do you know who did a bad thing? Who did? Do you remember? No. You think the king Saul. Well, what did you think?
Jonathan.
You think it was Jonathan? Let's see if you're right. Back then, they used to cast lots. Now, we don't do things like that today, but we're going to use our chopsticks. No, that one stays long. Now, a chopstick's kind of like a lot. So there's one that's long. The one that's long means that person is innocent. The one that's short means that person is guilty. So what they did was they mixed them all up. We're going to mix ours up because I don't know if they might have used something else, but we're going to use chopsticks. So you're going to pick one. Now put yours down. You're going to pick one. Which one are you going to pick? You're going to pick that one, which leaves Blake with, which one did you get, Blake? You got the short one. Now, James got the long one, which means he's okay. You might, Blakey.
Short one.
Okay. That doesn't help our story, please. Okay. You might get the next one. You get to pick next time. All right. Now, you might have thought it was the people who ate blood because they'd done a bad thing, didn't they? You might have thought it was the people. But when they cast the lots, is what they did, the priest said, no, we need people to see it. We need people to see it up in there. The priest said the people were innocent, but King Saul and Jonathan were guilty. Well, that's who it was. That they were picking out of groups, and they said it was King Saul or Jonathan that was guilty. So who do you think it was? Was it King Saul or was it Jonathan that was guilty? We've got to pick it again. We've got to pick again.
Okay.
We're going to pick again. This time Blake gets to choose first. This time Blake gets to choose first.
Finally.
Blake's innocent. And Jamie picks what one? Jamie picks,
You're naughty.
Jamie got the short one, and so did Jonathan. Jonathan got the short one. And Jonathan finally confessed and said, I ate a little honey. But that wasn't all that Jonathan had done wrong. He didn't admit the bad things he'd said about his dad and how he'd encouraged the people to eat.
Well,
Hang on. Jonathan thought the people would fight better. He thought they'd fight better if they ate. But they actually stopped fighting. They left the battle and sat down to dinner. Now, do those kids look, Jamie, do those kids look like they're fighting a battle?
Yeah.
Well, they look like they're fighting a battle with the food, but not against Philistines. Now, we're all finished with our chopsticks. We can put them away now.
Get more honey.
Oh, finished with our chopsticks. Now let's leave them alone. All done.
Hey, find me.
We're going to put them back there. Okay. We're going to put them back there. Thank you. Thank you. All right. The people, instead of fighting better because they ate, they stopped fighting altogether. And that was bad, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Jonathan had been wrong to say something bad about his dad. That's called dishonoring. Do you remember the Bible verse that says, honor thy father and thy mother? Remember that one? Yeah. There's one that says, honor thy father and thy mother. That means you're not supposed to talk bad about them. Jonathan didn't obey that verse when he spoke bad about his dad, and God was displeased with Jonathan. Jonathan should have obeyed his father, the king. Saul was really upset. Remember? He said if anyone, even his own son Jonathan, had sinned, they'd have to be killed. What was going to happen? Would Jonathan win this epic battle against 40,000+ Philistine soldiers, only to die because he disobeyed his dad and encouraged the people to disobey too? That's sad, isn't it? It looked like that would happen, but thankfully the people talked King Saul out of killing Jonathan, and they saved Jonathan's life. Look at that funny thing. Jonathan had a little bitty complaint about his dad's stupid rule, and it started off a terrible chain reaction. No. Look at this chain reaction. What's going to happen with the matches? One's burning with fire, and each one burns with fire. It really would have been better if Jonathan had obeyed, because he almost got killed. No, leaving the chopsticks alone. Do you remember what was King Saul's very odd law? What weren't the people allowed to do? Do you remember? You want to do an X out of them? Okay. Yes. You want to make an X out of our chopsticks? What weren't the people allowed to do, James?
They broke it.
They did break the X, but what were the people not allowed to do? They weren't allowed to eat. That's right. Good job, Blake. You got it right too. They were not allowed to eat all day long. But do you remember? Well, see if James remembers this one. James, do you remember what did Jonathan do?
He ate already.
He ate some. What did he eat?
Blue. No.
Not blue. Not blue. Blake, what did he eat?
Honey.
Honey. That's right. Jonathan ate some honey because he didn't know it was wrong.
Do that.
We'll do it again. Maybe we'll do it after our story, okay? Now, did Jonathan say sorry when he found out that he'd broken the law? Did Jonathan say sorry when he found out he wasn't supposed to eat honey?
No.
No, Jonathan did not say sorry. Instead, Jonathan complained. He said, he didn't say much, but he said, oh, that wasn't a good idea of my dad. He should have let the people eat. But that little thing that Jonathan said, what happened because of the little thing that Jonathan said? Now, does anybody remember what big thing happened because of the little thing that Jonathan said?
God didn't help them.
God didn't help them. And what did the people start to do? Do you remember what the people started to do? It was really gross. They did. They started eating raw meat with blood all in it. Ugh. They disobeyed the king and God, and they started to eat meat without cooking it. Sometimes we don't think what we say is very bad. We might say something small, like, you listening? You looking at those guys? I hate lockdowns. They're awful. Someone ought to make the government stop. But I think that's probably how the lockdown riots started. Jamie, we're going to need to put our chopsticks away. Excuse us a moment while we put our chopsticks away, because we're not paying attention to our story. Now, chopsticks away. Alrighty, what happened here? I think someone probably said something small and bad about the lockdown. Someone else decided to hold a rally. You'll see in a minute. You listen. Someone else decided to punch a police horse in the nose. Can you see the fist punching the police horse?
Yeah.
Right.
That was dumb.
No, it wasn't very nice, was it? Yeah. Someone else decided to throw paint at the police. Can you see the paint being thrown at the police? Right. Someone else threw an iron bar at a policeman and hurt their back. Someone else knocked a policeman to the ground and kicked them. And then last week, 6 policemen ended up in hospital with broken bones and concussions. It started with something small, but it became something really, really bad. Could we do something like that? Encourage someone to do wrong and start a bad chain reaction? What do you think? What's this? There was someone who said, yuck, tomatoes are disgusting, don't like tomatoes. and I couldn't get his little brother to try eating a tomato anymore. Who was that?
Me, because I don't like them.
You don't like tomatoes? No.
Not me
It seems, no, I know you don't like it either now that your brother's taught you that. It seems like something small, but it made your brother disobey me because he wouldn't try a tomato when I asked him to. Now, what about someone who needs to do with school and there's someone else who comes along and pokes his brother?
Thank you.
His brother.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. And suddenly, Big Brother is not doing his schoolwork. He's not obeying his teacher, which is bad. That's bad. Because sometimes you encourage your brother to not do school, and that's bad.
Maybe
Whoops. Yeah, you're supposed to leave your brother alone when he's doing school, aren't you?
Okay. Maybe
Yeah. We can all do small things that don't seem very bad. He's watching. He's watching. See the man watching? We can all do and say small things that don't seem very bad, but they can make other people do worse things. They set off a bad chain reaction. Now, we recently learned a song about being careful what we say because God is always watching us. But it wasn't just God watching Jonathan. There were people watching Jonathan as well. And people watch us too. You ready to sing our song? Oh, be careful, little mouth, what you say. Oh, be careful, little mouth, what you say. For the people all around are watching in leaps and bounds. So be careful, little mouth, what you say. Yeah, I know. Hang on. No, don't eat my mouth. Come on, we're going to write. Remember the next one? Oh, be careful, little hands, what you write. Oh, be careful, little hands, what you write. For the people all around are watching in leaps and bounds. So be careful, little hand, what you write. In our last story, Jonathan set off a great, good chain reaction. It led to a big, huge victory in battle. Now, if Jonathan had obeyed his dad in our story today and he hadn't eaten, or he'd said sorry for eating, then his good chain reaction would have continued because the people wouldn't have eaten raw meat. But Jonathan disobeyed his dad and set off a bad chain reaction. How sad. So today, do something good today and set off a good chain reaction. That's what you can do. Now we're up to our Bible verse. You ready to say it?
Yeah.
Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice.
Sacrifice.
Good job. 1 Samuel 15:22. Say it again. Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice. 1 Samuel 15:22. So remember, do something good today and set off a good chain reaction. Bye.
Bye.